Welcome back to the studio. You're watching Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Shona Bhattacharya. Let's take a look at our top stories in this edition. Overshadowing his meeting with Germany's Chancellor, and Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari and his wife Aicha traded jabs after she criticized his cabinet appointments. Buhari was in Berlin seeking financial support. In South Africa, students continue to protest against rising tuition costs. This Friday, Wits University in Johannesburg was once again the scene of clashes with riot police who fired rubber bullets and tear gas. And high hopes for a new law in Kenya. Traffic violations have specific fines as of this week. Authorities hope the new measure will put an end to police corruption. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari was in Berlin meeting with Germany's Chancellor this Friday. The two addressed the migrant crisis, with Angela Merkel insisting on the stability of countries on the continent to curb the flows of illegal immigration to Europe. She says Germany would send back most Nigerians, all the while stressing support for the country's fight against Boko Haram. 21 of the Chibok girls were released by the Islamist fundamentalist group on Thursday after close to 2.5 years in captivity. Meanwhile, on his visit, President Buhari sought to attract foreign investment at a time when Nigeria's economy is faltering.
Cranes stand idle in Nigeria's commercial capital. The construction industry in Lagos has ground to a halt. With the devaluation of the naira currency and inflation soaring, firms simply can't afford to import the building materials they need.
Your project is going to take 3 years, and in 9 months in the 3 years, there's been a major change in the rates, and a whole lot of construction materials in Nigeria are imported. So you've faced the challenges of your costs going so much higher.
Nigeria officially plunged into recession in August, hit by the fall in global oil prices. Militant attacks on oil pipelines in the Niger Delta worsened the crisis. The effects are being felt throughout the economy, with both market traders and shoppers struggling to make ends meet.
It's expensive, it's not what we expected. And for example, now we buy material at the range of 500 before, now it's now 800. It's now 1,000 naira.
The money is not there, and when you try to hike the price, your customer keep complaining. But what can we do? We have to be in business. You have to sell the way you buy. You have to increase the price gradually in order to maintain your customers.
There's good news for Nigerians this week with the release of 21 Chibok schoolgirls kidnapped by Boko Haram. President Buhari will be hoping for an economic miracle too as he visits Germany to attract much-needed foreign investments.
President Buhari's visit to Germany may well be remembered for another reason, however, as what looked like a quarrel with his wife overshadowed the day's dealings. Early on Friday, Aicha Buhari gave an interview to BBC Hausa criticizing her husband's cabinet appointments. She says the president does not know 45 out of 50 of the people he appointed. I have decided as his wife that if things continue like this up to 2019, I will not go out and campaign again. I will never do it again. And this is what President Buhari responded during a press conference with German Chancellor Angela Merkel.
I don't know which party my wife belongs to, but she belongs to my kitchen and my living room and the other room. It's not easy to do away with your opposition or people who have not followed you along your campaign trail.
South Africa's Jacob Zuma got his way for now. An anti-corruption report was blocked from release after the South African president went to court seeking an injunction on Thursday. However, the report has been completed, said the country's public prosecutor, whose last day in office is this Friday. The report has been handed to the parliamentary speaker for safekeeping before a court hearing next month. Meanwhile, the protests against rising tuition fees continue. Clashes took place once again on the Wits University campus in Johannesburg, with security forces firing rubber bullets at protesters. Laurent Bersecker has more.
Determined to make their voices heard, South African students gathered at the Wits University campus on Friday to stage a peaceful protest. But when the police stepped in, all hell broke loose. The unrest, which started 3 weeks ago, has seen South African police use increasingly violent methods, including firing rubber bullets directly at protesters. The situation escalated after the government recommended an increase in university fees last month. Students then took to the streets to demand free education. They say tuition costs are especially prohibitive for the black community and contribute to lingering inequality in post-apartheid South Africa, a division that can also be felt in academic programs themselves.
We need to decolonize the practice, the methods that we use. We know American history, we know European history, but we never taught our Southern African history, which is very beautiful and it's very inspiring.
With no one willing to back down, talks between the government, universities, and student leaders have been at a standstill. For now, there appears to be no end in sight to the violence.
In Egypt, 12 soldiers are dead after an attack on an army checkpoint. That's according to the Egyptian military. It says 6 people were wounded in the attack that included mortar rounds and rockets, and that took place in the northern Sinai Peninsula. A military statement alleges 15 terrorists were killed. The Islamic State group, however, that claimed responsibility for the attack, denies any of its men were injured or killed. The Egyptian affiliate of the IS group has claimed repeated attacks on security forces and foreigners in the Sinai Peninsula. Greasing the hand of the policeman who pulls you over. It's a common practice in many African countries and indeed elsewhere in the world. But in Kenya, a new law promises to put an end to that. Starting this week, traffic offenses will get a specified fine, meaning drivers will know how much to pay when they've violated a traffic rule. Before, police corruption could flourish, as we see in the following report, and many hope the new law will help improve road safety.
Over 1 million vehicles flood the roads during Nairobi's traffic-packed rush hour. It's the most difficult time of day to avoid the city's police checks. Joe has been a taxi driver for 6 years. Confronting this police racket, as he calls it, is just part of his daily routine.
Policemen usually don't instill discipline or enforce law on the roads. The main aim is to get something in their pockets. Most frequent, I lose like 2,000.
Nearly every Kenyan driver has been a victim of attempted bribery. The accounts of police corruption here are vast. This driver filmed his own arrest on his cell phone. Ranked as the 29th most corrupt country globally by the NGO Transparency International, Kenya has made strides to clean up its act. Automobile associations have long demanded fixed fines for traffic offenses. To them, the police are not solely responsible.
People who normally drive, some of them are the ones who make the police to be in corruption so much. Because when you are caught and a traffic offense, you have done it, you need to come out of that in either way. Either you are going to bribe
a bad driver or a corrupt policeman. The blame is shared, and Kenyan authorities say it's important to address both issues.
Corruption is not one way. It's two way. I come, I give you money. If people could be firm in terms of, yes, this is a mistake, I shouldn't have done it, I pay for it, then I'm sure we will reduce even the road fatalities and crashes.
With over 3,000 deaths on the road each year, it's critical the government take action. The new fines will be rolled out for a trial run in Nairobi before they are extended to the rest of the country.
Rewarding one journalist's dedication to the facts. Burundi's Eloge Willy Kaneza got this year's Peter Mackler Award for courageous and ethical journalism. He's part of SOS Media Burundi, a collective of mostly anonymous journalists, both inside and outside the country, who verify facts to help prevent the spread of rumors that can lead to panic. The award comes a day after the UN Security Council decided to send an envoy to Bujumbura, the capital, for emergency talks. Burundi broke ties with the UN Rights Office and refuses to allow the deployment of a UN police force. The Central African nation has been in chaos since President Pierre Nkurunziza announced plans to run for a third term in April 2015. Since then, more than 500 people have died and at least 270,000 others have fled the country. And we end this bulletin with these stunning images of the yearly equestrian festival in Morocco. This year's guest of honor is the United Arab Emirates, and more than 1,000 horses are expected to take part in events and competitions. Horse racing is a long-standing tradition in Morocco, and horses are admired for their beauty and their elegance. There's more news coming up on France 24. Do stay with us.
L'Afrique qui bouge, c'est tous les soirs sur France 24.
Here on France 24, we track the twists and turns of the global economy for you.
نافذة فتحتها لنا ولكم France 24 كي نناقش عالم المحرمات.
So many of us are French or half French or have just been living here for a really long time, and that gives us a unique insider's perspective.
Ce qui est vraiment sympa à France 24, c'est qu'on produit vos émissions partout dans le monde, même dans les endroits les plus reculés. Ça, c'est vraiment top.